is a series of circles and cycles, phrases and stages. These experiences teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to It's Your Life with James Cooley. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get you equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
It's your life.
Hello, welcome to another show, another wonderful show. It's Your Life with Dr. James Cooley, and I'm your host, Dr. James Cooley. And we got an absolutely fantastic show that's full with so much energy. It's full with so much enthusiasm, and it is full of being able to understand that life is all about service before self. And we got this absolutely fantastic guest, Bishop Dr. Mike Kingsley is going to, I tell you, he's just going to inspire you because he's such a great man. And, I tell you, if you want to be part of this great conversation, all you got to do is go to the comments, and you can go to the comments, ask the question. If you just want to say hello, you can do that as well. But I want you to be part of the conversation. I cannot start the show without my absolute wonderful co-host, Michelle Cooley, who's back in Texas, and I'm in sunny California today. So let's bring on. How are you doing today, Michelle?
I'm doing great. You're in sunny California, and I'm in sunny, hot Texas. But it's not that hot today. It's actually good weather.
You were telling me that it was kind of raining a little bit yesterday there.
Yeah, it was thundering and lightning last night, but Texas does that. They do have their thunderstorms, so we're actually used to it. But this is going to be an exciting show today. I can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be extremely exciting, and I'll tell you what, I want to get this show started. So, first of all, can you let our viewers and listeners know what the title of the show,
Yes,
purpose of the show, and please introduce this great, fantastic guest.
Yes, the title of the show is basically a sit down with Dr. Mike Kingsley from World Trumpet Television and Radio Network. And the purpose is getting to know the founder and president of the World Trumpet Television and Radio Network, Dr. Mike Kingsley. Talk about the mission goals of World Trumpet Network and about building bridges for society development, and discuss how the needs of the people are being met through humanitarian initiatives. So let's talk a little bit about our guest today, Dr. Mike Kingsley. Again, he's the founder and president of World Trumpet Television and Radio Network based in North America, Dallas, Texas, and Africa. Their mission at World Trumpet TV Network is to proclaim the good news worldwide, ignite global movements of God for world transformation, and promote international humanitarian missions to hurting nations. Mike Kingsley is also the founder of Only Prayer America, a Christian ministry whose mission is to equip the end-time church to awaken, pray for world transformation, and 1 billion souls saved by world evangelism, with a mandate to reclaim a genuine revival and national transformation through seeking God. World Trumpet TV Network broadcasts the gospel of the kingdom to the hurting and unreached people all over the world. The urgent global mission of World Trumpet TV is to reach unbelievers around the world with faith-based, family-oriented program that is evangelistic, life-changing, and humanitarian in the mission field. The Dallas-based network uses satellite, cable, and social media platforms to deliver the kingdom's message to the world, as well as a 24-hour programming. In addition to world evangelism and global moves of God, they also offer humanitarian transformation initiatives. The gospel is broadcast in more than 150 nations. It's also an educational and wholesome channel for children ages 2 to 12, which provides content that is Christ-centered and filled with meaningful Christian values. Dr. Mike Kingsley lives in Dallas, Texas with his wife and 4 children. The James Cooley Show welcomes Dr. Mike Kingsley to the show.
How you doing, sir? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
It's an honor for me to be with you today, Dr. James. What an honor. What a pleasure to be here.
Wow. I had an opportunity to meet you and sit down and chat with you last week, and that was an absolute pleasure. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much And I cannot wait to share with the world some of the great things that you are doing, because I was blown away, Doc. I was completely blown away uh,
Same here, Doc.
by.
I was really meeting with you. You're always on the move and making things happen for so many people. And I'm happy to be here on your show.
And Doc, we talked about service before self,
Yeah.
meaning that a lot of times, a lot of people just look at the I, me, my.
Right.
Uh, in your heart, just chatting with you and just feeling the vibe. Can you tell our viewers and listeners, how did you develop such a giving heart? And tell them a little bit about where you grew up, and just the values that was taught of you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Dr. James. Let me begin by saying I was born in Uganda at the time when, the nation was going through so much trauma. Talk about wars, talk about disease, talk about famine, talk about all the major, you know, um, you know, devastation you can imagine. We were living in this neighborhood that actually had been literally bombed, and we found a shelter to hide in, and we stayed there for quite some time. It never belonged to us. I remember growing up, poor. Our neighbors who had stayed, who never ran through the war, were helping us get, you know, you know, give us their cups to drink water or coffee or something like that. And so out of that, we began to see uh, this heart of compassion, speaking, towards the question you asked me, where, a gentleman came to my dad's place at the time, and he said to him, I want to educate your children. I want to take them to school until they go through university and finish university. Wherever they want to go, I will support them. He was a much wealthy man. So I'm like, so I went to school. He educated me. He allowed me to learn, the King's language. And so when I growing up, I realized, I said, if somebody can be so this kind, I want to be likewise. I want to do likewise wherever I go, meeting people. So when our ministry, our church started to grow, you know, there was a lot of families that didn't have access to some of the good stuff, even though we'd grown up poor. Because there's a sense of feel like when you've grown up, without, everything is centered around you. And but for me, it was different. It was because God showed me this kindness through somebody else. I felt like growing up, it would be the same. So when all these children were picked up from the streets, and my dad brought them to our house to live with us, I give them my clothes. I give them my shoes. Everything that he was giving me. My mom used to say, you know what, we give you good stuff and you give them away. I say, well, that's the way I am, because I saw kindness more important to me. And so these kids were picked up from the school, didn't have fathers, mothers, because their families had been killed. You know, I was a supply to them. That has never left me. That's never left my heart. Is to open this opportunity for people who don't have. And I felt that it's not even just that the heart, but the heart of Jesus through Scripture. When we open it up, it's based on love and kindness, and it's based on understanding whoever gives to the poor, lends to the poor, lends to God. He told us to feed the widow. He told us to feed the orphan. He told us to take care of the destitute who don't have. And we're living in that world right now that really needs that type of compassion. In the last almost 20 years, we found ourselves at the heart of God. If we never did anything, was to take this kindness and love to people who are going through that. And and as when we moved into even launching a television network, we allowed for us to have an aspect of this humanitarian arm to it. And before you know it, truckloads were coming from Georgia, they were coming from Florida, everywhere that have supplies and 100,000 pairs of shoes right here in the city of Dallas, where 20,000 people who are homeless and everything come downtown Dallas, and we're giving them shoes and food and everything. And it's so beautiful to see people who don't have advantage to do things be able to access them, and the blessings that comes out of that, the unity that comes out of that. And man of God, Dr. James, that's been the heart of God. The the light of all this is not, according to us or coming back to us. The light goes back to the nature of the Lord, who authors. He's a lover of people, and the whole basis of the foundation of redemption is based on love. It's loving people.
What, Doc, we have to start getting people to understand and get rid of their selfish ways and to learn how to express and give love to everyone, everybody.
Exactly.
Uh, the world that we live in today is a little bit different. But you know what? It's still full of great folks like yourself and
Yeah.
others that see the good in everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we just don't just look for the bad. We see the good, and we always want to do what we can to bring out that light
True.
and also lead them to the Father.
Yes.
So did you have any great role models when you was coming up that kind of every time you feel yourself taken off to the side somewhere, you focus back on the role models that guided you um, and put you on the right path? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Yes. I grew up, my father, number one, was the perfect example of a role model that, has really led me and to this place where I am, because talk about compassion. He's a man of compassion. He's a man that, could go over the streets of Kampala and pick up, you know, uh, suffering children and bring them to a house. If you came to a house, you'll meet almost 40, 30 kids. You wouldn't even know that just maybe four of us as children. Everybody thought, oh my God, that man has got a big family, you know. And so out of that, the example that I heard, came from him, guiding me, through my path of who I was and I am as a man, today, was so amazing. And then God started to bring other wonderful mentors, that have guided me to be the kind of man that the Lord wants me to be, that I've spoken in my life, and sometimes in the most difficult situations. Because, how do you get a kid who grew up in the war and, traumatized by going to school, jumping dead bodies, and all of those kind of, and then you, how do you get him out of that, disposition, how that of that, system? How do you take the system out of him that he can see hope out of devastation? It had to take God. It had to take, the men and women that spoke, in my life, because I could have chosen a different path. I could have said, you know what, there's no hope. Not, this thing is not going anywhere. The world is hopeless. But I kept seeing hope. I kept seeing, wherever we went in different cities and different places, whenever, and say, well, then I began to realize I have an opportunity wherever God sends me, to be an agent, an instrument of hope, to be a catalyst of that. And when I realized that that's the pathway that God has called me, whether it's been speaking on different platforms and different occasions and plus, I realized I'm going to blow this trumpet of hope, realizing that but it all began with the foundation of these men and women that God placed in my path. And I cannot let go of it until, all of this life that Christ has given. And right now, when you see Dr. James, we live in a very, very critical, we live in a very, the world's descending in a lot of chaos. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have agents of hope like who's able to speak and share, what the good people that can get out of devastation, the hope they can grab a hold on when the ships are sinking and they find their God-given purpose and who they are. And so I'm delighted to meet, somebody like you, and that's able to say, you know what, yeah, there's crisis and there's this, but hey, deep inside of you, not outside of you, deep inside of you, you can break out of this, because purpose is like a seed. Purpose is like a seed that grows into the ground and you don't see its existence. It feels like it's disappeared. But a few days later, a few weeks later, it just begins to break forth and it begins to blossom. That's how I see that. For those of them who don't see, any type of hope, that seed of hope is, if it's not damaged, if it's not broken, it will spring forth. And that's the message that, that I'm delighted to be able to speak about.
Wow. You're absolutely right. Seed of hope grows up. If you plant it, it grows. And then we have to take care of it because we want it to blossom and continue to
Yes.
spread. So, hey, Doc, we're going to take a station break. But when we come back, we're going to pick it up and we're going to talk about your World Trumpet Network and a lot of other great things that you're doing. So I tell you, if you want to be part of this great conversation, go to the comments, ask this great doctor any question you want to. I tell you, always keep an open mind to everything. We're going to take a station break, but we'll be back shortly. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I tell you, I can sit back and listen to this man all day. And I told you, inspiring, and with a heart, a goal, a heart about giving. I tell you, we learn to develop, I believe, these types of thoughts that shape us today based on our living, based on what we went through. And we don't forget about those things. So it's important to give back, So, Doc, you're doing so many things. I want to talk about your World Trumpet Network, television, radio, ministry. Uh, I know that's your baby. And
Yes.
can you tell our listening audience how you created it, why you created it, and how did you create it?
Dr. James, I have traveled in so many countries, 70 countries to date. And everywhere I've gone, I have seen first devastation and hopelessness. And I've been given the opportunity to take this message out of a tiny country to go to different parts of the world. And that opportunity has allowed me to share the good news of King Jesus. I love it. That good news is to bring hope to people that are walking in darkness and hopelessness. So as I continue to travel, I come into North America. I spend a good amount of time, which is over the last 20 years. I've been traveling across the Northeast and West. The desire to bring people together was for us to have a message of transformation for each city, for each region. Wherever I've gone, there's been a mandate. I went to the Northeast, spent a great deal of almost a year. I didn't know no one there, but I went to bring a message of hope to that region. And I said, I need to meet several leaders of this town and see whether I can share what I sense is very vital to the next coming days in your region. And what do I mean by that? They were going through devastation. There was disunity. They could not get anything done, together as united force. Yet people are hurting. There's a lot of crime and a lot of things that really come against our communities and stuff like that. But I took the message. One gentleman, a dentist I went to, through with my friend, Pastor Dr. Frank, he said, what does it take for us to bring our city together? Well, that's the reason why I can. He said, I want to go on the radio and announce that I need to call all city leaders together in one room, and I'll share with you, what's going to take. And I remember so well that the dentist who owns that place, he said, I want to be part of that. That's what he said. What does it take? I said, I'm going to the radio from here. And before you know it, he pulled out over $7,000. I said, well, as I'm going, he said, here's $7,000 to pay the radio station so we can put an announcement for almost a month. I'm stepping out by faith. So we ran from him. We didn't even have a place where we're going to put the people. As we're driving, I see a building, big building. I say, hey, let's go in there. The owner of that facility just walks in. I say, we want to put this event that's going to bring our community together. I want to share a message with them that's going to bring transformation, in this area. He said, well, you can have my place. We have 7,000. We have a place. I run to the radio, throw 7,000 on them. And somebody told me, you cannot get anything done because this city is so devastated and everything. I said, don't worry about it. When they get the message, they'll come together. And so we reached over there. We paid the money. They start to put an announcement. We had over 200 leaders that showed up in a place where they said nobody could come. And I shared the message. From that time on, all of a sudden, there was starting to be a shift of them design, because I guess I was from outside coming in and tell them, look here, all of you are exhausted and tired, and there's issues and all that. Everybody's trying to blame the other. The city is supposed to do this. The police is supposed to do that. Why don't we come together and bring good? Why don't we become agents of good? And I realized that out of that, to answer your question, Dr. James, was we can take the same message across the United States and share the need for us to unite regardless of our backgrounds and status and everything like that. And when as I started continuing to do that in the Northeast, West, we had successful events that had been taking place. The Lord began to share with me, we're going to start a network called World Trumpet. Well, the trumpet, is synonymous to release a message, to bring an alert, to bring awareness. And so when that began to fathom in my spirit, I knew we were going to do. So I brought together several tech leaders, television experts of influence. I brought them in one room. I said, we're going to start a network. But before we do, I want to do our research of what's the effectiveness of media, especially from this starting point. And guess what? They took a year of research because we didn't want to dive into this place if we didn't have a message that we're going to put out to the people. So they came back. They brought the message to me. It was exactly how my convictions were, especially watching how our nation, the United States, is tilting and crumbling through chaos, through all of the things that are affecting us, the narrative of our conversation, the disunity, the media that's really punching how we should be together, and all of the things that causes us either to come together or they divide us. And I said, we want to be a different type of network that's going to speak through all of those things and be able to, if we can get enough army of believers, because sometimes when the media is blanketed to or what's negative to everything, you almost feel like we don't have agents of change. You almost feel like, well, where are the good men? Have we lost the good men? Have we lost the people that can bring hope? Well, they're still there. I've been able to meet with you, Dr. James, with what you're doing. Now, what if we get, 1,000 Dr. Jameses across the United States? America would be in trouble. And I'm like, you know what? I'm still going to hope we have good people in the land that can rise up. And if they don't have a platform, this will be the platform where they can do the same thing you're doing. The people that you've hosted on your network that have hope, that still believe, in spite of the darkness that can cover our cities, something good can come out of that. And so that's where the birthing of World Trumpet Television came from. And when we launched it 2 years ago, this year, we launched it 2 years ago, it was exactly what God told us, because now we stepped into even a bigger crisis. This is where COVID has hit. This is when our streets were embroidered with a lot of killings on our streets and division and everything. I'm like, God, you just allowed us to start now when things are even more chaotic and stuff. Well, he said, because I've given you a message, and that message will be hard. And when we put it to test, we begin to see people began to resonate step by step, and realize, oh, you know what? We're not going to stop being the trumpet of hope. And from that time on, we're still hoping and believing great and mighty things can come out of that, because there's no way darkness can cover and can cover the earth without God raising up a standard to bring hope to those who are brokenhearted.
You mentioned the word transformation, which a lot of people don't know. Transformation, in order to actually birth transformation, it had to come from that inside uh, out. Inside. Get rid of the darkness on the inside, let it go, and bring light out to be able to shine on others. So my question to you, Doc, is how do we ignite army of folks that's willing to shine the light on others? How do we go about getting them to understand that you are here for a purpose, that they are here for a purpose? Our purpose is to love, share the good news, and also enlighten others. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Dr. James, we live in a society that's already aware of what's bad, what's evil. We live in a society that's now inclined to understand maybe there's no hope. Maybe things are the way they're supposed to be. Nobody's telling them it can change. Nobody is telling them it's not supposed to be that way. Like a lot of what's bad is becoming the norm of the day. But that's not what it's supposed to be. So what we have to do is to come back on the inside. And coming back on the inside of us is a realization that deep within there is a light. I have seen, let me give an example. I have met somebody that has been devastated many times and heartbroken many times, for instance. And you ask them, you know what? How many times have you gone through this? They tell you, what, I've been heartbroken for almost like 3-4 times. And said, really? And so, and they tell you all the stories of that heartbreak and what happened through relationships and everything and all of that. And then I wake up one day and I see them wake up, with such a hope, and there's such a glow on them. And I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened? Because the last time I talked to you, you were so brokenhearted and you felt like it was the end of you. They said to me, you know what? I was sleeping and I had this dream that I didn't need to die or didn't need to get out and live this life of brokenness. I'm getting up again. I'm rising up again. In other words, deep within there was a resolute saying that I'm not going to let this condition and this way of life just put me in a box and lock me out of there and lock me in there. Whatever that decision was didn't happen because somebody gave them a little bit of advice. And sometimes, yes, we get advice, we get a boost, we get everything. I give a picture of the many times Jesus met people. Let me bring about Jesus. Jesus met people who were in their condition. But the last word he tells them after that condition changed, he said, your faith. He didn't say my faith. He didn't say because I'm the Son of God. He didn't say because of my power. He said your faith. So that tells me that deep inside of them, there was a will for them to wake up. There was a will for them to say, you know what? I got to change this. I'm not going to let this condition. So Jesus doesn't take credit of the situation. Sometimes people take credit of what they do for others. Jesus doesn't take the credit. He said something inside of you compelled you to get to this new change or this new transformation that's taking place. And I like that. I like the fact that most people don't realize that deep within, even if it's a little flicker of light, a little bit of, I look at when the emergency, ambulance comes in and they meet somebody who's maybe shot, and they're trying to find a little bit of pulse inside of them. They're trying to see if, they touch the neck and find if there is a little blood flow still going to the brain. If they can trace a little bit of that, they're going to work around that to bring the total life of that person again. We live with people that have a little bit of pulse inside of them. They have a little bit of hope. They have a little, that little that they have. If they walk in the right environment when they thought it was the end of themselves, something good can happen. That's all that can be worked on. When the first responders come and they meet a little, all they're going to do is electrify. Our bodies are electrical. They just need electricity to boost them again. They were supposed to be on the verge of death, but the electricity that needed more boost, all of a sudden, boom, the body lights up again. And the person who's supposed to be dead is alive again. And I believe that the sign of death is a sign of somebody says, you know what, I've lost it all. I have no hope. I've gone in dark. It's when they say, you know what, I give up the ghost. But those who want to leave will say, you know what, I'm going to talk, to me on the inside. I'm not drowning in this. I'm going to wake up again. How do we bring transformation? It's when we go back on the inside of us. Most people don't realize how much power they have until they pull themselves out. It's I didn't have power, but you know what? Something told me to get up again, to hope again, and believe again. And their stories are always the stories of hope that make a difference. And those are the people that I like to communicate with. And I tell them, hey, you know what? You don't even realize it is your faith. It is inside. Where is it? I don't see it. It is inside of you. I don't feel like it. I don't feel good enough. Well, whatever you don't feel good enough, just right where you feel you don't feel good enough, something good is hidden under there. We just need to scrape all this pain, scrape all this negativity, scrape all of that. And once we remove it, we're going to find the best human being the world ever has, because that's what the world has been missing. That passage is on the inside of you.
Wow. Very powerful. That was so powerful, and you're right. We have to believe. You have to believe, just like you said. Jesus said, your faith. That means that we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe that we can do it. We have to want to.
Yes.
We have to want to. You have to want to make people better. You have to want to make yourself better. Doc, we're going to take a station break. Almost don't want to, but I got to anyway. So I tell you, when we come back, if you want to be part of this great discussion, and you see Dr. Mike Kingsley is putting it down, and you got to believe in yourself. We're going to take a station break. We'll be back shortly with some more. Bishop, Dr. Mike Kingsley. It's your life. I'm Dr. James Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the Hello. Hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities / the Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do.
There is much truth in a journey that ain't over yet, as all of us journey through life's precious gift of time, just like James Cooley has. Hi, I'm Noah Dingley, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. There's a new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet. You can join James as he shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. This is a must listen for anyone who thinks they're stuck in life or needs to understand their current situation is not their final destination. Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet is the unfiltered truth to provide hope for the future by challenging you to refuse to become a victim of life's circumstances. It dares you to be an overcomer because a bigger, better, and more impactful life awaits you. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. And we got my absolutely fantastic guest, Bishop Dr. Mike Kingsley. And I tell you, pretty much lit a fire in my heart just listening to him chat and just discuss several different things, especially when we're trying to find that light in us. It's there. It's there. That's supposed to come out and shine. And just like what we were talking about a second ago, it's there. You got to believe in it. You have to dig deep. You have to be willing to take a chance and share. And I want to pick it up with that, Dr. Mike, because our younger generation today, and not like when we was growing up, seem like there are a lot more challenges with this generation in understanding our Lord and Savior and understanding that they must be able to actually get out and do things on their own and not expect the mom and dad and everybody else to give them everything. How would we go about reaching our younger generation to try to get them to become believers, more believers, and also become more independent? Can we talk about that?
You know, Dr. James, this generation of young people has been presented with the greatest, most opportunity than any other generation the world has ever seen. I think those who have already gone would be envious, looking at us, looking at our generation, looking at this generation, the opportunity that's ever present. I could tell you the many great opportunities that have been handed to this generation. You know, the last almost 30, 40 years, the technology advancement that's presented to this, the communication, the interconnectedness of our world system today, the social media structure, the way we respond, talk about Facebook, 1 billion people connected with one another. You know, talk about how we do business today, just with on our phones, our banks are now our phones, not just running to the bank. You can do everything right where you are. This generation has been given, you know, the greatest of all. But at the same time, this generation has also been handed the most difficult time in the universe. As much as we know how to solve today's problems, or might be able to know to solve today's problems, we've also been handed the many problems. And now this is what allows us to get to this one and only one situation. The mind is the very, very most powerful thing. The mind is the most powerful thing in the world today, because it has to filter that which will work and that which won't work, to energize and bring together. Thank you, you know, thank you, Shona, for asking this question about mass shootings. That's the very point I'm coming to, is that when you've been given all of these wonderful opportunities, there's a sense of entitlement that these things have been here for longest. You know, I'm very keen about history, where the world has come from and where we are today. We came through so many world wars. We came through slavery. We came through a lot of things that affected humanity. But for some reason, humanity has been able to evolve out and try to shape something not quite perfect, but at least it's try to walk away from and try to be better. But at every time it is evolved to something better, another crisis comes. You know, just when we thought we're better, then COVID, the last 2 years, has changed how we think about science and how we live and everything. And all of those things have been handed to this generation. When they thought that we figured out how we communicate with Facebook and everything like that, now we've been given an opportunity. How do we get out of here? How do we shape the future? Now, when I look at current events today, and I look at the crisis about mass shootings that are taking place across America and around the world, the crisis all over in different countries, not only here, but it's going on all over the world. Humanity now feels like it cannot manage itself. It cannot handle itself. And there's a narrative there. There's a narrative out there that's already being ushered in or being improvised or being created, that since humanity cannot manage itself and is continuing to break and crumble within itself, why don't we think about this new world system, a new world order, a new mindset, a new algorithm that we can now have a grip to control man? We have a grip to control man because man seems to be chaotic. He cannot handle themselves. And here's the reason why. We now have been given an opportunity to be intruded upon. We allow these smartphones to come into our homes. They have cameras because there's a sense that we cannot handle ourselves. We are under this heavy duty surveillance that's going on our planet. Satellites are going to the moon and everywhere, and they're positioning themselves to monitor where humans go, because somehow, somewhere, nobody has tried to figure out the genome, the code, the mind code of a human being on how he can govern himself. Let me pause there and I go back to the genesis of life. When I go back to the genesis of life, we are created perfect. When I go back to the genesis of life, we were right in the image of God. The only intruder that came in was the deception that tells man, you are not enough. So we are struggling today because humanity has been told you are not enough. Maybe you need another house. Maybe you need another material thing, or you need something else. Maybe you need to go to war. Maybe we need a war for us to reorganize ourselves. And all of those are lies, because they're experiments of telling humanity or telling this generation, maybe you need that. And by the time humanity steps into that, they find out that's not the truth. So what does the mind need for this generation? Is to find truth. And the truth is the truth of identity. Because as long as we have a broken identity, as long as the human code, the mind code is distorted, you cannot have a generation that's willing to shape the future. We dance to a lot of music, and not a lot of music is amusing. And young people have allowed themselves to dance to a lot of music that's not helping. They've tried drugs, it's not helping. They've tried guns, it's not helping. They've tried, all of this epidemic, it's not helping. What does help? The truth. What will help? The truth is going back again to this very mind, because you, Dr. James, you understand, they are after our minds in order to put their narrative of a truth inside so they can control us from that starting point.
Wow.
And we don't have people who can change and say, we don't need an intruder from outside if we can abide by the truth within. And how do we find truth within? But we have to first stop the music that we're dancing to. We have to stop the music. Whenever we let anybody else amuse us, they will control us, they will entertain us. And for a longer time in this culture, there is a lot of noise, and not all that noise can realign our generation right now. Talk about shooting right today that's taking place on our streets. Just the other day, I just saw, several key leaders, young men who had a future. They're down in different cities across America. But when you watch the news and narrative on the news about those shootings, there is some of that doesn't come with the truth. It's only engineers. We only throw money at it, but we don't find a solution to it. That's the reason why it continues to spiral. It continues to, because we've not found a way to get a hold of the mind, and grab a hold of this mind that has to be realigned back to the truth. And that truth is abiding in God. That truth.
It's all about abiding. It's all about abiding in God. You are so right. The truth. Just like you mentioned, dancing to the music. That's not the truth. We're going to take a quick break, but we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up. right here. And I tell you, hey, Doc, all of this information is probably going to take 3-4 hours, 3-4 different shows, but we're going to make it work. We're going to make it happen. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back shortly with more Dr. Mike Kingsley. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and wow, we're down to the last 9 minutes of the show. Got so many questions to ask this great man, and I tell you, if you want to be part of the conversation, it's not too late. You can all you have to do is go to the comments portion of it and ask the great doc any question you want to, and it is all about the truth. Doc, just what you were saying at the end, it's all about the truth.
It's all about
Understanding what the truth is and moving forward with understanding the purpose. And just like you mentioned that the world that, especially our generation today, is got a lot on their shoulders. But an easy way of understanding how you fix that is the truth. You know, I see we got Joshua Goldsmith. I don't know about a war, Joshua. I mean, we don't need a war, and so you certainly right about that. But we still have to understand what the truth is. You know, Doc, I want to switch to this last segment and talk about some of the humanitarian things that you're doing. I know you got this event coming up real soon, and I know you're doing a whole lot of things across the international world. Can you share some of those things with our listeners and viewers, especially about what you and I talked about? You getting ready to feed 7,000 to 8,000 families. I think that's so intriguing. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. James. You know, the last 2 months I called a few leaders here in the city, and I share with them. I said, you know, as a network, yeah, we can brag a little bit about what we're doing overseas, because we're sending hospital beds, we're sending medical supplies, we're sending teams in different parts. You know, we just had a team come out of Ukraine during the war that's taking place over there, you know, feeding, you know, hundreds of families over there, and say, you know, we got to come back home. We got to come back in our cities and see the need we have over here. And I say, you know what, the next, you know, several months, we are going to be serving our city. And so we rallied and said, we're going to say, where are the needs that we're going to need ourselves? So we discovered that, okay, our families, North Texas alone has over 900,000 families that are going through food insecurity. You know, during COVID time, we endeavored to be able to bring families together, feed them, and give them all the needs that they had and all that. It never stopped. What I loved about that, I saw the heart of unity and compassion of businesses, entrepreneurs coming together and say, let's take care of the least of them. Some of them were dying in their apartments and stuff like that. But we say we got to be part of that conversation of seeing transformation through need and helping those who can't, because food, the inflation is up. A lot of things are up. You know, not everybody lives in Highland Park or whatever, but at least those who don't, we can take it. We can take help to them, and we did. And so we've continued to this year. And right now we've mobilized 3 different locations in this city that are going to be receiving food for all of these families, over 7,600, you know, families. And now I'm getting phone calls that another region in Tulsa, Oklahoma, border of Texas, they also want us to send, you know, food over there They're also calling us in Decatur, Texas. They want food over there. But right here in this city, it begins where these families together with the church, we want to see the church united around this. They're coming together to take care of these amongst us who need to be blessed. We're partnering with, the Costco's and them and all of these wonderful companies, that are coming together, say, hey, we can supply food. I'm telling them, I hate that. In Africa, we're feeding over 80,000 people. We have orphans there. And I'm like, I see food that's being thrown away every evening at around 9 in restaurants here, and my heart cries. And I tell them, why can we give this food to the needy? And say, no, it's against the law. It's against the law. We can give it to them because somebody might sue that they were poisoned and stuff like that. I'm like, what can we do? But even then, we've mobilized, truckloads of food that are going to be coming out this very month of October is when we are going to do that. That is the ministry of the humanitarian mission we're doing. And in Africa, we've been able to bring together, we have almost 2 large truckloads of hospital equipment. People are dying. People are dying because they have no access to proper, healthcare systems. The advantage that most people have access to here in the United States. So we say, again, as a network, we want to be a trumpet and a voice to that, where we have access. Hospitals are sending us these things, in containers. And instead of them, they were telling me, say, Michael, if nobody's taking them, we're going to dump them we're going to dump them and scrap them. I say, these are new equipment. I found a hospital literally abandoned, I found a hospital that's abandoned, and I told them, what is this? And we built this. They spent over $10 million building that thing, and the equipment was still in there. And I said, what are you going to use with that? All of that's going to waste. The money was taken. The place is gone. COVID shut it down. I said to them, we're going to take that because I know a place that might need that. Clinics built, people fed, but not only just overseas, right here, partnering with the right people to see that people are blessed and helped and picked up. Those are one of the passions that we are championing. And December 4th, Dr. James, December 4th is when we bring all of these humanitarian organizations, which you're part of, and we honor them. It's an award ceremony that brings together, these men and women that are doing all these good things. They're stopping sex trafficking, and they're feeding the hungry, they're taking care of the homeless, educated people, building water wells, defending freedom and everything, standing for what's right. They're activists for truth that are fighting against injustices in our city. Guess what? That's what we need. In the midst of all this chaos, in the midst of all that's going on, we want to see all these agents of change and transformation that will stand and say, hey, darkness, you're not the only one. There are people who are good, who can do good in our town. And I'm so glad, Dr. James, for what you're doing, the message you're taking across this country, and what you're sharing with your viewers across this network to bring good and bring hope and tell people, no, darkness cannot. Goodness still prevails in our world today.
Wow. We're down to the last minute of the show. Doc, I got to put this request in right now. I got to have you back on in about 3 weeks. This is one of the best shows I ever had. And because of the topic and the way that you're bringing it, I hope we can do this because it's so much more that I want to cover that we cannot cover today.
Yes.
But certainly, and I'm getting a lot of comments that got to get this guy back on. I mean, ASAP. And so if we can follow up in about 3 weeks, if your time, if your schedule permit, and we'll follow with part 2. But we're down to the last 30 seconds of the show. Just one quick takeaway that you want our viewers, our listeners, to get from this great conversation that you and I had?
Everybody watching here that listens to you on the show has been called to be an agent for good. In the midst of what's going on in the world, let's be the agents for good.
Doc, I want to thank you so much. Looking forward to chatting with you when I get back just later on this week and having you on the show again. I want to leave everybody with a parting note. Always, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything that you do. And always keep your mind open, because you have the light that shine on others to make everybody better. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life. What a powerful show, Doc.